1. Layers, folders, and the Layers panel. The Layer panel is located on the right side of the screen and can be turned on or off by pressing F7. In it, you will find layers and folders. When you first create a new document, you will see only one layer named Background. This is the white on the canvas, and it's always locked. To make it editable, just double-click it and hit OK. Now you can use this layer, for example, to draw something. I'll select the brush tool and just fool around. At the bottom of the panel, you have a couple of buttons, one of them being Create New Layer. Press that and you'll have a new layer. If I draw on it, but then decide I don't like it, I can always delete it by hitting the Delete key, or just dragging it to the dumpster. That's the role of layers. You can think of them like transparent pieces of paper that stack on top of each other. You draw a house on one layer, and a car on another, maybe a tree on the next, and so forth. The end result looks like only one image, but it's actually the stacking that makes it look that way. If I don't like what I'm doing with the house, I can erase and adjust. But notice that the objects from the other layers aren't affected. This is the whole concept of layers, non-destructive editing. This allows you to achieve a lot of things this way. The eye to the left of the layer indicates its visibility. If you press it, you make it invisible. Press it again to make it visible. Scroll up and down for a mass action, or hold Alt while clicking on an eye to make only that layer visible. The most important part is you notice on which layer you're clicking on. The active layer is always highlighted, so be sure to check that. Also, layers stack on top of each other. So let's say I have this nice picture. If I want to play around with it, but not ruin the original image, I create a new layer and work on that. Folders act the same way as in your operating system. They organize things. Press this button at the bottom to create a folder, then drag the layers inside it. Better yet, select a couple of layers by using Ctrl and then hit Ctrl-G to group them. Be sure to always group files that belong together. Furthermore, you can rename any layer or folder by double-clicking on its name, so you can easily find them. You have other buttons at the bottom of the Layers panel, but at this point, you're interested in the Layer Styles panel. We'll use this quite a lot, so press U, drag a rectangle, and then add Layer Styles to it. Notice how every option works. With this, we can create a lot of web elements like menus, buttons, backgrounds, and more. Let's just leave a stroke on our square for the moment and focus on the top of the panel. Here you have opacity and fill. Lower the opacity and the entire square fades in visibility. Lower the fill and the layer effect, in this case the stroke, remains the same. That's the difference between opacity and fill. In CS6, you have these options at the top through which you can search for a layer. You can look for it by name, by color, by effect, and it's nice to have it. You can turn it off by hitting this button, though you should leave it as is. Last thing that interests you about this panel is the possibility to lock a layer. Say you don't want to move a layer by accident. To do that, just use this lock icon and you're all set. This concludes the Layers panel for the moment.